Hey, first years, thank you so much for joining us in the Department of English Language and Literature's Imagine Week special. Today we have Dr. Miguel Mota, who is the head of the literature program here at UBC, and Barbara Dancygier, who is the language program head. So today they're going to tell us a little bit about the difference between the literature stream and language stream in the English degree program and what the combined program looks like. So Miguel, can you tell us a little bit about what the literature degree looks like?
Sure. First of all, welcome everybody to UBC and to first year. Just to say a few words about the literature program specifically, I think that we have one of the very best English literature programs in Canada, and not just in Canada, but I think globally as well. Students can graduate from our program with either a major, a minor, or an honors if they're really, those people who are really, really passionate about English. And of course, as my colleague Barbara will talk about as well, we've recently created a combined language and literature degree, and that is also available both in majors and in honors. I should point out, first of all, that we have numerous profs, and this is true also, of course, in the language part of the program as well as in the literature part. Numerous professors who won teaching awards, and I think that's very much a reflection of the department's engagement with, the passion for the teaching of English language and literature. And we have a lot of really good teachers in our program, in our department. Our literature program specifically is a very large one. That means that we're able to teach a very, very broad selection of courses across many fields. And of course, as our department itself has become more diverse, that means that the writers and texts that we're able to teach have themselves become increasingly diverse. So some of our courses focus on historical periods, others on specific issues, specific areas of studies, others on theory, others on specific genres. All of them, I think, address issues that are or should be of immediate concern to us today, right? Issues around race, around gender, around class, the effects of colonialism, things like that. And I think, speaking for the literature part of our program, I think one of the questions that always remains central to our program is what exactly is literature, right? What counts as literature? And I think as a department, we tend to define literature quite broadly. So some of us teach authors and texts from within the traditional canon, of course, from within a more traditional definition of what constitutes the literary. But we also try to push beyond those traditional boundaries, and we offer courses on things like graphic novels or comics, detective fiction, screenplays, many other forms of popular print culture. And I think that our program also considers how literature fits into the larger world of media. So that, I think, translates into courses that we offer on television studies, film studies, radio, photography, music, theories of media more generally. So I guess I would say that our literature program is very eclectic, very open to all kinds of approaches and ideas, and as a result, very exciting.
Fantastic. Thanks so much, Miguel. Barbara, what can you tell us about language to get us started off?
Well, I'm afraid I'm going to repeat a few things. It's a very important program because there are not all that many English departments in the world that offer a language program, and we do, which makes us a pretty unique place to study English. And also we have incredible variety of things. So if you just browse through the groups of courses and titles of those courses, you'll see right away that the main hallmark of the program is variety. There are basics that, of course, everybody has to study, but there are also many things that we are exploring that really reach out to all kinds of interesting questions about, how we communicate today. And that's not just whether we use, how we use forms of language, but also what are the new emerging forms of communication, how they change language, how language adapts to them. So there's really a broad range of questions that we ask in the program, and, well, hopefully answer too.
Great, thank you. So in UBC English, you have the option to major in either literature or language, or do the combined major together. And you also, in honors, have the option to do either literature and language together. So maybe we'll start with you, Miguel, but what kind of advice would the two of you have for students who know they're interested in English, but aren't sure exactly which program is a good fit for them?
Well, I mean, I think that Barbara probably has had more experience with students who are trying to kind of explore both aspects of our program. But what I would say very, very briefly is, I guess, quite the obvious thing is that to take courses in both areas. As you're starting out, figure out how these kinds of things play themselves out in the classroom, and get to know the faculty in each of these programs, and then make your decision from there. I don't know if Barbara will have more kind of specific kinds of advice regarding that.
Yeah, Barbara, what do you have for us?
Well, all the choices are good, and that makes the decisions really difficult. But I think number one, you'll find a lot of things that all three of our majors programs share. So you look at various kinds of texts, you look at their context, you look at how people respond to them, you learn how to uncover what's underneath. And that's what all of our programs and courses share. So they offer you skills in responding to any kind of communication, whether it's creative or considered less creative. In fact, if you join our programs, you'll see very quickly that creativity is, the main feature of language. So you'll find creative things happening, things to discuss or understand, whether you're studying language or whether you're studying literature. So they are different because, of course, we're looking at slightly different facts and different texts, but there's also a lot of commonality in what you're going to find. Well, specific skills or specific things that might help you choose. I can't speak so much to literature, but in language, I think you have to be a little bit of a sleuth, because you see language or you hear language, and you're seeing or hearing forms, structures, intonation, stylistic choices, whatever it is that is attracting your attention. But the fact is that to be a proper analyst, to develop your analytical skills, which is what we're trying to do, is you need to be able to scratch that surface and see what's underneath. And it turns out that what's underneath is a wealth of concepts, ideas, facts, or not facts sometimes, interesting ways to look at the world, to look at people, to look at various areas of the world, and so on and so forth. So uncovering what's underneath the linguistic expression, whether it's written on the page in literary form, or whether it's your Reddit page or Instagram page where you're looking at very different things. They all have features, interesting aspects, interesting things to offer, because they all tell you something meaningful. And in order to get at the meaning of any kind, you need tools. We offer those tools, regardless of which program you're joining. The tools will be explained.
Well, that's fantastic, because I was going to ask next what kind of skills you can gain throughout the literature and language program. So thank you for telling us all of that, Barbara. Miguel, can you speak a little bit to what skills a student will develop throughout the literature stream of the English program?
See, technology is a wonderful thing. No, I'm not muted anymore. Most obviously, perhaps, reading literary texts, talking and writing about them. I think something along the lines of what Barbara was just saying, that allows us to engage with how these texts and their authors and their readers have imagined and given shape to our world. And my own approach is very much historical. So I really believe that reading a literary text provides us with insight into the period when that text was produced, when that text was written. But at the same time, though, that insight is always going to come from engaging critically with the text, right? So I think that literary criticism teaches us to engage critically with what others have written, what others have said about what it means to be alive. right? And I really can't think of anything more important than that. All disciplines at university, right, are going to say that they teach and encourage students to grow as critical thinkers, and that's as it should be. But English, I think, and I think this is true for the language program as well as the literature program, I think English is unique in that it's the language, right, of, in my case, a literary text, right, that encourages nuance, it encourages complexity, it encourages open-endedness, possibility, multiplicity of meaning. And that's what critical thinking means, in my view. And that's the kind of critical thinking that I think literary studies can teach students.
Fantastic. Thank you. So maybe we'll go back to you, Barbara, and I'm curious for both of your perspectives on this. What does, from a language perspective for you, Barbara, what does the combined program give to students? Like, what do you see in your language classes from students who are also taking the literature stream?
That's an interesting question. Well, I've taught these kinds of courses, well, not that many times until now. It's a pretty new program. But what I'm seeing is the expression of surprise. Oh my God, so things do actually connect in so many ways. I can look at a text that I know very well from my literature class and find things in it that I haven't seen before. And it doesn't mean that we're, uncovering something really unexpected, but it's a lens. It's a little bit like, what are the glasses that you have on when you're looking at a text, an example of media, a journalistic article, or whatever it is. The lens uncovers new things, and having the insight from both sides of the spectrum gives you a more complex insight, a better understanding of how it is that you get the meaning that you do, and how it is that various speakers and writers get across to you. How does it work? It makes you a better writer and communicator, I'm sure, but also a much more critical and sensitive reader and listener, because you're just seeing things that you wouldn't have seen otherwise. And going between literary analysis and linguistic analysis is enriching the kind of spectrum of things and questions that you can ask. So I find it, I myself do a lot of work across language and literary texts, and I find it to be the most illuminating way to look at things, because I get the best of both worlds, sort of.
Great. Miguel, what do you think about what the language stream brings to literature classes?
Well, I'm in complete agreement with Barbara's comments about how, each enriches the other. I can't, for me, it's not possible to engage with the literary text without engaging with the language of the literary text, right? And I'm a big fan of close reading. So that's first and foremost, right? And as I was mentioning before, it's when you're given the opportunity to delve deeply into the language of the text from many different perspectives. And the language program will offer, a number of different perspectives. Literary criticism offers its own set of perspectives. Right? It's when you're given that opportunity to do that you can that you really engage with those ideas, right? And I have to say that part of it is just that it's tremendous fun to do that, right? I mean, it's really, really pleasurable to engage closely and deeply with the text in that way that Barbara was just describing, right?
Absolutely, yes. As a former English major, I can also say it's definitely a lot of fun to be digging deeper. And now I kind of wish I had done some more language courses so I could have both sides. And I should
just add to that, sorry, Taylor, that as the university grows increasingly professionalized, right, we just don't get that much of a chance to have fun, anymore. And I think that English offers that for students and us, professors as well, that opportunity to have a lot of fun doing this. So you're learning, a lot of really interesting stuff, but it's extremely pleasurable at the same time. You might not think so when you're, writing that essay, but when you look back at it, you'll say, that was fun. So enjoy it while you can, I think.
No, absolutely. I mean, Barbara said earlier that doing the English major is like being a sleuth, and it's definitely a lot of fun to feel like you're a literary detective, digging up clues for your hypothesis. So the next question I have then is about what kind of students you think would be suited to these programs. whether they're thinking about English or not, maybe, it'll be a surprise to them to find how well their interests might actually match with the literature or language program. Barbara, do you have any ideas about that?
Well, I can say that in my years of teaching at UBC, I've had students join English classes from all over the university. I mean, literally. I don't think there is a department or faculty that has not been represented in our classes. And everybody leaves with something that they needed. And it varies, of course. For some, it's just, it's a reprieve. I don't have to do what I normally do all the time. There's something more pleasurable and more fun, as Miguel was saying. But there are also instances where I hear, oh, now I understand better why we have to talk in our discipline the way we do. Now I see why we write the way we do. Oh, now I see how I could bring something to my discipline, having experienced discourse of all kinds. And also for teachers, how to speak to students, for those who are going to be practitioners, how to speak to colleagues, how to explain information, how to produce documentation of projects that they are developing. In other words, they do find a perspective on whatever profession or field of study they have chosen that is, improving their own understanding of how that profession works. And I think that's an extremely valuable thing to take out of English courses, regardless of how many and how deeply you're going to take them. They will help.
Miguel, do you have anything to add?
Well, I think the kind of student who would excel in the literature program is going to be, first of all, a student who enjoys reading, right? But enjoys reading, but also thinking about what they read and talking with others, who also enjoy reading and thinking about what they read and so on. I think also, just to add to Barbara's comments, I think that a successful student in English is always going to be one who's open to all kinds of ideas, about what it means to be human in our world, and at the same time, willing to. A successful student is somebody who's going to be willing to question things, right? To think deeply about things, alongside others who are also intellectually curious. In this way, to engage with the open-endedness of text, however we might define those texts.
Great, thank you. So I will ask each of you too, what is your favorite thing about the literature stream for you, Miguel, or the language stream for you, Barbara, that students might not know about? Like, what do you think is the coolest thing about the program? Maybe, Miguel, you look like you need a second to think, so we'll start with you, Barbara.
My favorite thing, always something new. I don't think I've taught any course twice in the same way, because I'm finding new things to add and new examples, and they're cool examples. And to tell you honestly, there's a plan and there's this and that and the other. But if I've seen something really interesting in the media the day before, I would bring it to class immediately. Because there's something new that is worth looking at and considering and untangling and understanding why it has been done that way. And it goes for visual communication, multimodal communication, written communication, anything. So my favorite part is that I never get bored, because there's always something new that I find and want to share with the students. And that's the excitement, because a lot of times they've looked at the same things that I have looked at, but they didn't quite think of bringing them to class. But now that they're there, we can all have an interesting conversation. So I think we're in those courses, we're all learning all the time, also how to face the challenges of changing communication and the changing world. There's always a way to address what has been seen, heard, discussed, whatever the case may be. So that's the best part for me.
What about you, Miguel?
I guess, as once I think about it, it's quite easy to answer. I think for me, it's that my favorite part is just getting the opportunity to engage with so many smart, curious, enthusiastic young people, right? I really can't believe my luck that I have a job like this, right? I keep pinching myself, and I mean that genuinely, right? And it might sound like a cliche, but I think following up on some of what Barbara was saying, teaching is really very much a two-way street, right? I'm constantly learning new things from my students, and I don't am just talking about from my graduate students, where that's obviously the case, but from first year students, right? I enjoy lecturing, of course, but what I really enjoy is the energy that comes out of that. That back and forth discussion that comes out of that. That's where literary criticism happens for me, and that's what I really, really enjoy about my job.
Okay, well, that's fantastic. So information about the literature and language programs in English can be found on the website, english.ubc.ca, which also has all of the course descriptions for both the literature and language classes. For both of you, is there anywhere else that you would suggest students get information about these programs, or is there anything else that you really want to make sure is said about the literature or language program before we let the students go?
I think that the best source is our website, our webpage. Of course, students are always welcome to email us to ask specific questions, but I think where I would start is there on the website, and then take it from there.
And where can students get a hold of you?
On the English department website, we'll have contact information, right, with our emails and so on. And I do my best to try to answer in a timely manner within the same semester, or most of the
time. Perfect, thank you. Barbara, do you have anything to add?
No, not really. We've revamped our website, and the information there is really current. Given it a form that's appealing and easy to for you to find information. And of course, email. Well, maybe I shouldn't be saying that, but email is a big part of our lives. And it's perfectly okay to email one of us and ask a question. We're happy to answer. We're happy to hear that people want to find out more. But start with the website. It has a lot of information, probably more than you need.
Well, thank you to the two of you so much for your time. This has been fantastic, and even I have learned so much after going through the program.
Thanks, Taylor.
Thank you so much.
Barbara.
Thanks.
Yeah, bye.